is Ashley, and I'm going to go over the major aspects of the criminal justice system. Okay, so the primary components of the criminal justice system are the police, the criminal courts, and the correctional agencies. The police enforce laws, investigate crimes, apprehend offenders, protect rights and freedoms of individuals. Criminal courts conduct fair and impartial trials, uphold the law, ensure due process, and determine guilt or innocence of individuals. Correctional agencies carry out the sentences imposed by the courts. They rehabilitate, reform, and integrate convicted offenders back into the community and provide safe and humane custody of offenders. Unfortunately, there are problems that keep the system from functioning effectively and efficiently. Police corruption is one of the biggest forms of this inefficiency. Corruption can take form in violent crimes like the physical abuse of suspects or low-level corruption like not ticketing friends. The media has also created a lack of efficiency in the system because it only shows the corruption and brutality of police efforts instead of the beneficial acts towards communities. The Uniform Crime Reporting Program was developed by the FBI in order to gain an accurate survey of crime-specific geographic locations. The traditional UCR was faulty in the fact that it was limited in scope to offenses, and offenses were going unreported if there were multiple offenses at a time. The modified NIVRS and UCR is much more diverse in categorical offenses and reporting more than one offense in a crime. The efforts to control crime through these programs has led to more governmental spending, more precise efforts to control crime in certain hotspots. The policing goals to reduce crime and disorder remain the same as they did historically. Perhaps one of the largest changes in criminal justice traditions is toward juvenile justice. Historically, juveniles were treated the same as adults, and legislation has slowly given them the differential rights they deserve because of their youth. Sir Robert Peel described the police mission as one's efforts to reduce crime and disorder. Modern-day value of these techniques is demonstrated with efforts to predict crime, predict events, and prevent crime, apprehend offenders, preserve the peace, and provide other services, like 911 dispatch. With modern technology, these efforts are much more easier with a variety of databases and resources in place. As an offender undergoes their progression through the system, they face a variety of steps. First, they are arrested, then they are booked, and this is where they are fingerprinted and put into the system. Then they have an appearance before a judge, and the judge then decides if they are eligible for pretrial release. If they are eligible because of their they don't have resources to flee or their crime wasn't that severe, then they might be released on their own recognizances, or they might be given a bail amount or bond amount. If they aren't given either of these, then they are detained until the trial begins. Then a grand jury is selected and the trial begins, and they might have the opportunity to plea to a lesser charge or plea out, and then they are arraigned and they may present this plea, and then after the trial is concluded, they either are released, sentenced, or they are sentenced with probation. Courtroom procedures, in my opinion, are the most complex part of the system because juries are so uncertain in certain instances. So the courtroom procedures begin with trial initiation. Then there's a jury selection. After the jury is selected, then opening statements are given. These opening statements are given by both sides, the prosecution and the defense. And then the presentation of evidence is given by both sides again. And then closing arguments, again by both sides, are presented to the jury. And then the judge charges the jury to deliberate and decide based on the evidence that they've been presented with. Then the jury deliberates, and then they reach their verdict if they can reach a verdict, because sometimes there's a hung jury or jury nullification. And in this case, it's not beneficial at all to the system because then they have a mistrial or they have to redo the trial or select a completely new jury. And then if they do reach a verdict, then the defendant is either released or sentenced. And that's the end of my presentation.